All right, this is skill practice B4, essential pre-algebra skills. This is basically the whole school year for pre-algebra. Not a lot of word problems yet, but this is pretty much the main concepts you need to know for the entire school year. So both of these have 225 in it, but the decimal placement's really important. The scientific notation, the decimal slides 3 places to the right, whereas this 2,250%, the decimal slides 2 to the left. So we get 22.5. And then you just look at these numbers, and it's definitely going to be greater because 2,000 is going to be bigger than 22. All right, moving on. Which number is real? A real number is rational or irrational. It's everything. So all of these are real numbers. You don't have to worry about imaginary numbers. You'll get into that down the road. All right, which shows the best location for the square root of 8? Square root of 8. You could type this in a calculator and get it out. Ideally, you understand that 8 is not a perfect square, but square root of 4 and square root of 9 would be real close to square root of 8. So it's going to be between 2 and 3. Square root of 4 is 2, square root of 9 is 3. It's going to be 2 point something going on and on forever. All right, negative the square root of 169. Basically take the square root of 169, which is 13, and then stick a negative sign in front of it. So negative 13. Moving on. What is the percent change if 50 changes to 18? So this is a percent decrease. This is like maybe something was costing $50, now it costs $18. What is that percent discount? So one way to do it is to do difference over original times 100. 50 minus 18 is 32. 32 over 50. You get 64% decrease. That's a 64% decrease. You could have done difference over original equals blank over 100, and you could have treated it like a proportion. So same thing pretty much, except now you're doing 100 times 32 divided by 50. You still get the same thing. Moving on. So principal, loan interest, and it's being paid off in 5 years. What's the total amount of money owed if you pay the loan in 5 years? So $6,000 loan, 0.8% APR, and then 5 years. Principal times rate times time. You work it out, you get 240. So you have to pay $240 in interest. Now they're asking for the total amount you owe back, so you need to add that back to the $6,000 that you borrowed. So not only do you pay the $6,000, you have to pay that $240 as well. That's how banks make their money. Angle relationships. So we've got a picture, they've given us 2 angle measurements, and you need to use this information to fill out all the other angles. You can see that these 2 angles are vertical, and vertical angles are always congruent. You could see that these 2 are complementary. 63 plus something is going to give you 90, so that's going to be 27. And then you can say, oh, well, these 2 are vertical, so that's also going to be 27. And these are vertical, which is going to be 90 as well. And that's that. They're going to get more complicated, but that's the gist of it. All right. So volume or surface area for cones and pyramids. What's the volume of the figure below? So they've given us a few different measurements. And if we're doing volume for a pyramid, we're going to use this formula. Big B is the area of the base face. 16 by 5. And we're just going to figure out big B and then plug it in. 1/3 of 80 times 6. You could say 1/3 of 6 is 2 and then times 80, or you can just plug it into Desmos and you get the answer. We're going to move on. Oh, this object could be filled by 160 cubic inches. So that means if you had a bunch of little inch by inch by inch ice cubes, you could put 160 of them into this pyramid. All right, so we have this original figure. It is a 3 by 2 by 1 when you look at those measurements. Its volume is 6 cubes. And hopefully you remember length times width times height gives you 6 anyways. The surface area, you had 3 on the front, 6 up top, 2 on the side. So that's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. And then there's 11 that we see and 11 we don't see, so you double it. So if we tripled the length, we're taking that 3 and tripling it. So now it's going to be 9 by 2 by 1. The volume, it was 6. Basically, you can just triple your volume. It's 18 cubes now. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 cubes. So now the surface area increases, but you don't multiply the surface area by 3. The front faces tripled, the top faces tripled, but the side faces did not. So that's the big thing that kids mess up on. So you have to do some calculating to figure it out. So it's going to be 58 squares. What is the transformation that took place from A to A image, to A's image? A reflection over X, well, it was at 2, 2. Its reflection over X would put it at 2, negative 2. It's not at 2, negative 2, the dot. The A is, but not the dot. If I reflect it over Y, it would be over here. It was 2 to the right of Y. Now it's going to be 2 to the left. Well, that's not going to be it. Vertical negative 3, that means down 3. And horizontal 1, I want right 1. That's going to be the one you want. Horizontal 3, vertical 1, that would be right then up. That would put it somewhere over here. So that's not it. We're going to keep going. Okay, so they've given you A, B, C of a right triangle. A and B are the shorter sides. C is called the hypotenuse. They've given us measurements for A and C. We need to figure out B. I'm going to go ahead and show the setup. I've plugged in for A. I've left B as it is, and I've plugged in for C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, so I'm plugging in what I know. Now I'm applying the exponents. I want to get B squared by itself, so I'm going to subtract off the 64. If B squared is 225, all you need to do is take the square root of 225 to figure out what B is. So B is 15. They're not always going to work out to nice whole numbers, but so far I've got them designed for that. All right, let's keep going. Composite plane figures. What is the area of this figure? Hopefully you're seeing that this is a rectangle and a triangle put together. Those are the two formulas we're going to use. Area equals length times width. Hey, length times width, 8 by 3. And then 1/2 BH is going to be 8 by 4, 1/2 8 by 4. So there you go. This is 24. This is going to be 16. So then you add those together, and you get 40 inches squared. If you plug in this right here into Desmos, you'll get your answer. Now, math teachers want you to do your order of operations, but the tool will help get you there real fast. Okay. Probability of your spinner landing on green and your number cube landing on a number greater than 2. So the probability of green and something greater than 2. Well, 1/4 of that spinner's green, so that's 1/4. There are 4 numbers greater than 2 on the number cube. 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 4 out of 6. So there's your setup, probability of the spinner, probability of the number cube. You could get 4/6 into lower terms. You could also do some cross-canceling here, and you get 1/6. Are these independent or dependent? They're independent. The spinner does not affect the number cube. The spinner doesn't affect the number cube. All right. So here we go. Box plot. This is just identifying parts. Lower extreme, lower quartile, median, upper quartile, upper extreme. The 3 middle markers are your quartile markers. They're the box. The extremes get attached with the whiskers. They used to call these box and whiskers. Now they just call them box plots. All right. Scatter plots. Is this displaying a positive, negative, or no relationship? It's going downward from left to right. So if it's going downward from left to right, that's going to be a negative relationship. We'll talk more about it. Right now, we're just trying to get you to spot it quickly. Okay, simplifying expressions. The first thing you want to do is utilize the distributive property. You don't want to start combining like terms until after you've done all your distributive property. 2 times n gives you 2n. 2 times negative 15 gives you negative 30. And then don't forget the negative sign in front of 4. Negative 4 times n gives you negative 4n. Negative 4 times negative 6 gives you a positive 24. Then you're going to regroup your terms. 2n, negative 4n, and then negative 30 and 24. Those are both constants. Those can be regrouped as well. And that's all you can do. You're done. That was always weird to me as a kid because I thought it always had to work out to a single number, but you're done. You don't know what n is, you're done. It is simplified. All right. So some of you are already comfortable with immediately seeing that negative 2 is going to be the y-intercept. And you're seeing that this is 3 over 1. You're going up 3, right 1, up 3, right 1. Some of you are able to do that. I'm going to go through the process of making the table and then graphing the points as well. You're going to, you could use Desmos if you needed to, but ideally you should be able to do this in your head. 3 times 2 is 6 minus 2. And then you plot the point. 2, 4, 2, 4. 3 times 1 minus 2. Going to give you an output of 1. So 1, 1. Negative 1. Put in a negative 1. That's negative 3 minus 2. It's going to give you negative 5. So negative 1, negative 5 is down here. You connect those points. That gives you your line. Now let's talk about it more. Let's talk about the slope. From left to right, if I go up 3, right 1, up 3, right 1, up 3, right 1, it falls right along the line. So that means your slope is 3 over 1. And your coefficient was 3. 3 and 3 over 1 are the exact same thing. The y-intercept hit the y-axis. The line hit the y-axis at negative 2. And if you notice, the constant in the original problem was a negative 2. There you go. Multi-step equation. I recommend you get all your variables on the left side. But you could have done it another way, but I'm going to go ahead and show where I get all my variables over here on the left. So that means I want to get rid of this 4n. I'm going to subtract it off. So if I do it over on the right side, I do it on the left side as well. And then I'm going to, so now it should start looking like a more familiar equation that you've seen before. I'm going to get rid of my constant over with the variable. I'm going to add 7. So we get negative 6n equals 24. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 6, and I get n equaling negative 4. And if you work that out in the original problem, if I put in a negative 4 for n, let's see, that's 8 minus 7 is 1. This is negative 16 plus 17. That's also 1. So it does work. Excuse me. All right. So finally, we have this last one. We have an inequality. Once again, I recommend you get your variables to the left side. So I'm going to subtract off this 3n here. If I do it on the right side, I do it on the left as well. Notice how everything dropped. The plus 7 still comes down to just being positive 7. Now it's more traditional looking. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. And we get 15. I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and I get n is greater than 3. So you mark your 3, and it's everything to the right. 3 itself is not a solution, but it has to be greater than 3. So we still use it as a reference point. That is about it. I hope this helps. Best of luck to you. In this problem, You didn't have to reverse the inequality. You didn't divide by a negative. Now we're done. Bye.